The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. These Best You EXPO talks are recorded in front of a live audience in a live event. We highly recommend that you focus on the message. As they say, what you focus on expands. Enjoy. Agatha Tothova. The title of her talk is Failure as the Greatest Catalyst. Mentor of excellence and identify a void, Agatha believes that failure is the greatest catalyst to elevate our human experience. You might not believe it at first, but she wants to convince you that it's feedback mechanism rather than a fear-driven stimulus. Enjoy.
Okay, so once again, thank you, Victoria, for coming. Warm welcome to you all. Hope you had an amazing day so far. Have you? Yeah. Oh, I'd like to warn you, if I may. Before I begin, I just want you to know that I'm not going to say anything that you do not already know. So it's all going to be something that you probably know about or heard of. So I'm not going to be someone making a revolution or creating a revolution here. So some of you already know me, some of you may not. I am Agatha, and I'm the founder of Agaflow Mentoring and Agaflow Radio Talk Show. I am also an identifier of void. Outside, table number 3, that's where I am. And there is a lady called Sylvia Taborska, who is not only my assistant, associate, but also a dear friend and a rock, without whom I wouldn't be here today. Basically, she's just said yes to helping me out. So I'm here. Now, my talk is about failure as the greatest catalyst. So my question is, why is failure as the greatest catalyst and good for business? Firstly, failure requires you to look down deep inside and be willing to take a risk without ever knowing that you succeed. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that you need to go down deep inside and take that risk and never know whether you succeed? Yeah, that's how I feel too. Secondly, I believe that our society doesn't really have a good track record of rewarding failure or defeat. But you certainly won't find any documented failure in the history books. At least that's what I found. Can I please ask you, and I'm going to be going out closer to you so I can speak a bit about failure. Have you ever failed?
Yeah, loads of times.
Share with us what it was like.
In what sense? Just emotionally? Horrible. I felt very, very stupid and just, made me really doubt myself and my ability to do anything in general.
How did you overcome it?
I've got, my sister's a really good support network to me. She always gets me back on track, and I just kept going. I just thought, fuck it. But I learned from it, and I think that's all you can do, really, isn't it, when you fail?
Thank you so much for sharing. What was your name?
Rebecca, yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. I have spoken to few guests who came to my table and they said that they absolutely believe failure is a great teacher. What do you think, Adriana?
I think it's the biggest teacher ever, really, because it shows you what didn't work, but also what could work and what you can do differently. And learning to accept that we're not perfect as human beings, but we can be the best version of ourselves just by trying and discovering new things.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I do find that failure seems to have this negative feeling or emotion, or I don't know what you want to call it, attached to it. What was your experience with failure?
Relationships.
In what way?
Marriage.
How did you overcome it?
I'm not quite sure if I've really overcome it yet, actually. Yeah.
How does it feel to admit that you failed?
It's a bad feeling. Yeah, it's a very, very bad feeling.
Why do you believe failure is attached to a bad feeling?
I think there's two parts to that. I think part of it is society, because society looks at you and think, she's failed at that. And also you probably take that on the inside as well and thinking, well, everybody else thinks I'm a failure because I failed at that one thing. So then I must be a failure. So I take it on board as well myself.
That's a very good point. I'd like to speak to you about failure as well. Have you failed?
Having promoted more than 600 speakers and more than 65,000 people attend my seminars and courses and workshops and expos, having read so many books and attended so many courses, I really realized that the basics of personal, professional growth is based on the power of the question. Asking yourself empowering questions. Read my new book, The Question, Find Your True Purpose. It's based on my work, 30 years of entrepreneurship, all the experiences that I have, my manifesto, and what's really important. So for more information, go to www.thequestion.co.
I believe I have. But the thing is, in terms of a bad feeling, I think that when we have a plan of action on anything, and we put all this effort into it, when it doesn't go right, because that's what failure is, it's something that hasn't gone right, of course we're upset, because we've put all this effort into it. But the upshot of it is that you're able to see, actually, maybe if I'd done things slightly differently here, it would have led to a different outcome. And now I can go ahead and possibly make those changes and have a successful outcome. So it might feel badly, but it's allowed you to see what you didn't do right to make the plan go to plan. And you can make the changes, and then things possibly can go right. So, there's two sides to it, like most things in life, in my opinion.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I want to come back to you. What was your name? Joanna. May I please share with you what I feel when I have my clients who look at failure. I mean, they perceive failure as something very negative. And as soon as they learn to accept that associating positive thoughts with failure, because at the end of the day it's a perception, can change the whole view on failure. So it's no longer a negative perception, it's a positive, which gives that extra something that does not let the person stay in one place. Instead, he moves towards where he wants to go. Now, why did I say this? Some of you already probably know that Thomas Edison was once asked, why did you fail? Or how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? And he responded, I did not fail 1,000 times. It's the light bulb, invention of the light bulb that took 1,000 steps. And so that's straight away any change of perception. Would you like to add anything?
No, I was just saying that Thomas Edison was he had the idea behind the light bulb, but it was actually a black man that found the filament that made it stay and be able to stay alight. So I was just telling my cousin that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I also know a lady called Arianna Huffington. Anyone perhaps who have heard of her? She's the founder of Huffington Post. Her book got rejected 36 times before it got published. So I'd like to just point something out, and I'd like you to consider this. I compare ourselves to the universe. So we are almost like the universe that is created 22 trillion times per second. Did you know that? So the universe gets created 22 trillion times per second and gets destroyed 22 trillion times per second. And because the universe is like us, you also get created and destroyed 22 trillion times per second. And you will never, ever have a feeling of being destroyed. So I relate that to failure. We rise and we fail. That's part of the cycle. So this continuous destruction and creation creates this perception of movement, of motion. That's part of who we are. Now, could it be that we are wrong about what it means to fail? Have you ever considered that we may have the wrong definition of failure? Pamela, please tell us, what do you think about failure?
What I think about failure, I think you just learn a lesson every time you fail, basically. And you fail as long as you succeed. That's what I think. And you just learn. Some people get stuck in it and they just feel sorry for themselves. But I think you should just learn and go ahead again.
And that's what I find when I work with lovely clients, is that this perception of failure keeps them stuck in one place, and it's almost like there is nothing else that they can reach out to, because they have people around them saying, no, you can't achieve this, no, you can't be that, you can't be that, instead of just believing in yourself and say, okay, so I failed, what's next? How am I going to deal with the next step, rather than concentrating on what failure I've been because I didn't get this job, because I don't have this partner, because I don't have this house? I just feel that when you change perception of failure, what it actually means, it leads you down a different path. But that's just my experience with it. Now, the willingness to take on failure like I do, and I'm only talking about my experience. I have failed so many times, and not once did I let myself down. Not once did I say, I'm going to give up. Because I love myself, because I believe that just because something made me feel that I failed cannot actually stop me from becoming who I really want to become. So the willingness to take on failure is not a revolutionary approach. It's, you don't have to be a maverick to know that failure as a tool is just as powerful as any other tool out there. What tool would you say is just as powerful that you've learned in life? What tools would work for you?
Acceptance.
Oh, that's lovely.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
Would you think that resistance would be one tool that may teach you a lesson to move forward? Or embarrassment, would that be a teacher? When someone is feeling embarrassed. I would also like to say procrastination. Would anyone agree with me? When you procrastinate, you feel, I'm a failure because I can't make up my mind that it's time to do it now. Why do I, how can I not make up my mind? Oh, yes, doubt. Absolutely, I didn't think of that. That's very good. Thank you so much. Now, I've done some research and I found that many futuristic companies deliberately, I don't know if you've come across any, but doing the research that I've done, I've found that many futuristic companies are deliberately seeking track record of individuals who have basically success and failure recorded in their notes, in their CV, if you like. Have you come across anything like this? Well, the new companies would have to move towards that, because how would they know you succeeded if you haven't failed? So that is something that they are considering now. You may want to relate to an article in Forbes magazine. You'll find it there. I found it there too. Now, I just like to say something. There is a gentleman called Ralph Heath. He is the managing partner of Synergy Leadership Group. You may want to look him up. He's Ralph Heath. He's recently published a book, and the book is called Celebrating Failure and Power of Making Mistakes. So as you can hear, I'm not one of those people who will say, oh, keep failing. But failing is just as a process of becoming who you really want to become, as it is for the universe to keep recreating itself. That's what we do. We fail, we become again strong, and then we try again. So with that, I'd like to just ask one more question. This lady here who is writing a lot, please tell us, what do you think about failure?
I would say that failure is an opportunity for you to reflect back on what you've done and just look at ways that you can improve and just shape the positivity and try to make yourself a better person or learn from the situation. So it doesn't always have to be negative, but it's very hard to get out of that mindset because, as we say, it's generally a perception that everyone has of us. But I think I've learned going forward that, yeah, it can be a positive thing.
And why do you believe that so many people stop when they feel that they failed? What makes them freeze and say, oh, God, I'm not good for this. I'm not good at this. What do you think?
It could be many things. It could be fear of what other people are going to think of them. Could be the pressure from their peers or pressure within themselves. Could be a number of different things, really. But sometimes we are our own worst critic, and we can be very hard on ourselves. I know I am, because I'm a perfectionist. So, yeah, it's very hard for me to actually make a decision or do things because I'm frightened about what people will think. Sometimes you just have to feel the fear and do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. What was your name? Esther, thank you so much. Now, what would you do if the company you applied for, let's say, in the next few months, you're changing your job and you applied for it, and they actually required you to provide some document about failing? What would you do? Would you be happy to provide anything, any information, anything about failing?
Yeah, I would be quite happy to share that. And but obviously, I would give it a positive spin. And as in life, I have given a positive spin to the various failures that I've had. So, and take my lesson and show them, demonstrate what are the lessons that I learned, because each individual experience will have a lesson for me to improve or, do something differently.
Thank you so much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been told I don't have much time to talk anymore, but thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully you've had some sweets shown to you, and you heard me speak about failure, something very positive, and I could be the only person you will hear say, I absolutely love failure because it made me who I am today. So thank you so much. Thank you.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.